Welcome to Sakshi TV's special immigration talk show with attorney Mr. Parvathaneni. Please note that Sakshi TV now has 4 immigration shows every week. On Tuesdays with Kaveti, on Wednesdays with Prashanti Reddy in English, on Thursdays with Parvathaneni, and on Fridays with Banu Nidra. Please tune in to ask your questions. If you are an immigration attorney and would like to join our special shows, please email us at usa@sakshi.com or call us at 866-725-7441. Before we begin the show, please note that the information provided on this show is not a legal advice and for general informational purposes only. Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for the use of information. But if you need any specific consultation, you can definitely log on to their firm. SPBlawfirm.com site needs no introduction, but if you need consultation, you can definitely log on to their law firm site, and they have a wealth of free information and online tools in the hands of immigrant community where you do not have to be a lawyer to understand. They explain laws of different US immigration laws in a very simple manner where anybody can really understand. And if you need any consultation, you can definitely contact them. When you mention them, don't forget to mention Sakshi TV. Without any further delay, let's welcome Mr. Parvathaneni on our show. Chand Garu, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Parvathaneni Garu, I hope you're doing well.
Hello, Shivani, and pretty good, Sakshi. Pretty good, Shivani.
Yes. So Parvathaneni Garu, before we get on to our topic today, first let us understand, are there any latest immigrations that the viewers must know?
Sure. So I have two important news to share. One is regarding the green cards and one is regarding the H-1Bs. I'll start off with the green cards news. So October 1st every year. October 1st is the start of the new fiscal year for immigration purposes. So every year, all the new green cards, the new numbers, they come into effect from October 1st. So October 1st to September 30th, that is treated as a fiscal year for all immigration needs. And what that means from a green card perspective is a lot of people are eagerly waiting for the October bulletin, because October bulletin is the first bulletin of the fiscal year. And it's a bulletin that kind of gives an idea on what is going to happen for the next 1 year in terms of the green card approvals. We got the October bulletin, and unfortunately, the bulletin is not very promising. And the trend is very, very disheartening. And it doesn't look like the green card numbers would move up in the next 1 year. Not like what we have expected, what we have seen in the last 3 years. And the picture is pretty gloomy. And the reason for that is EB1 is retrogressed, EB2 is bad, EB3 is bad. The EB2 dates are still stuck in 2012. EB3 dates are still stuck in 2012. The only good thing is EB3 is moved up a little, and it is still not good. I mean, better than what we saw last month's bulletin, but it is still in 2012 May. And what that means is, at least for some of the folks who have EB2 and EB3, EB3 is ahead of EB2 by a few months, not by a whole lot. But people might be looking into interfiling if their EB3 dates are current. And as a whole, what we can expect? As a whole, the bulletin and the news that came out of USCIS, it looks like more than likely we will not see a great progress for this fiscal year. That being said, we will be watching out for the next few months' bulletins. At least as of the bulletin that just got released, the first bulletin of the fiscal year, the dates for EB2 and EB3 are unfortunately in 2012. That's on the green card side. And then going on to the H-1B. So just yesterday, so we have heard that USCIS is trying to come up with some new proposals, and they're trying to refine the H-1B process. And there is a way they're supposed to do things. And the very first step is putting out a proposal to get the regulatory changes started, and taking those proposals to a department called OMB. So those proposals were put in front of OMB this week, and the USCIS plans to put it in the Federal Register for public inspection in December. So the way the changes work is it has to get published in the Federal Registrar. The public should have an a timeline where they're able to review the changes, review the proposals, and make their own comments. So at this point of time, it looks like once OMB reviews those changes, more than likely those changes are going to get published in the month of December, and more than likely they'll have 30 to 60 days for public comment period. And once the comment period is over, that is when the final rules will get published. So this is something what I think we might be seeing in the next couple of months, but some of the changes could more than likely be substantial. And the kind of changes I think we are hearing are the H1B, the entire H1B, the employer-employee relationship part might be revisited. So we don't know what exactly are the changes, but we know they're proposing some new changes, and the public will have an opportunity to comment on those changes, and things will definitely change. Then we're also hearing about some FDNS visits, the site visits that happen. They're trying to come up with some new rules around that. We're also hearing that there might be changes about the lottery process. We all know that the lottery process last year was greatly messed up. It was greatly misused by a lot of companies, and USCIS has the data for the last two lottery periods, and they already published the data on the duplicates, multiple registration, collusion, and all kinds of issues. So USCIS definitely is in a great need to refine the lottery process, and looks like the proposals that they have sent in will come up with some changes. And this is something that we are closely watching, and I think we'll have more news in the next couple of months. Hopefully, I think by December, it's going to be published for public viewing.
Yes. Mr. Parvathaneni, the first question that I have for you is that, recently we did hear, and a lot of people were complaining that their green cards were not, they were not issuing their green cards, and there was a significant amount of delay last year and also this year. So what do you think? Is this in this year, is there any way that, there'll be a fast approval or a quicker approval? Any thoughts about this?
Sure. So after COVID, after 2020, so what we have seen in 2021 and 2022 is that the green cards, at least luckily for Indian nationals, a lot of people were able to get green cards in record numbers. I've never seen so many people, Indian nationals, get green cards under EB1, EB2, EB3 category as what we have seen in 2021 and 2022. And there is a logical reason for that. And the reason is because of COVID, a lot of consulates were shut down. So a lot of the green cards that normally were supposed to go for the family-based categories, they were unused. And because they were unused, they were luckily put in employment-based categories. And a lot of Indian nationals were, because India is where we have a lot of backlog. Amongst all the countries in employment-based category, India is one country where we have a huge backlog, and that's because of the country quotas. And luckily, 2021, 2022, because of all this spillover, a lot of people took advantage of it. And USCIS, luckily, they made sure the visa numbers were not lost. And what that meant is a lot of people did get the green cards. Coming to 2023, this year. So this year, what has happened is the spillover has decreased, and we still had a lot of spillover. We still had 60,000 green cards spilled over from the family-based category to employment-based category. So even in general, there was a lot of spillover, a lot of additional green cards that were available this year. However, what has happened is there was a lot of demand in the EB1 category. There was a lot of demand in from rest of the world countries. And there was according to USCIS, it was record kind of a demand. And what that meant is, even though we had spillover, that benefit unfortunately did not spill over to India. And what that meant is, if we saw the last couple of visa bulletins, I would say probably the last 7 to 10 bulletins, we did not see the dates for India progress at all. They were stuck, and unfortunately, they were stuck in 2012. So in the last 1 year, the green cards dates didn't really go, they did not really progress further. They were stagnant. And what that meant is not many people were unfortunately given green cards in 2023, like we saw in 2022 and 2021. However, there was still spillover, and USCIS tried to be as efficient as possible. And from their statistics, they didn't really waste a lot of available numbers. But the problem is there was not a lot of leeway they had, because there are strict regulatory rules on how many green cards they can award. And that being said, going into the future, 2024 fiscal year, that starts from October 1st. So for the next couple of months, from what USCIS is projecting, things don't look too good for the green cards. And the reason for that is they are saying that there is extraordinary demand from rest of the world, even in EB2 category, even in EB3 category. They're also saying that for Indian nationals, the green cards are already oversubscribed in terms of based on the number of pending 485 applications they currently have. What they're saying is they have enough 485 applications already with them, and they're projecting that that number is enough for the next couple of years. And what that means is USCIS more than likely does not have a lot of leeway to advance the dates way into the future. And what that unfortunately means for all of us is the dates for India more than likely are going to stay bleak for the next 1 year. And I don't really anticipate things moving a lot quicker in terms of the dates advancing in the next few months, unless there is some kind of a regulatory change. And changes are not that easy, because for the number of green cards, they have to go through the lawmaking process, and it is not an easy thing. There are a lot of hoops and bridges that they have to cross. And what that means is passing of a new law to fix the problem is not that easy. And it unfortunately means that people have to be ready for a slowdown for the next 1 year, because they're saying, at least USCIS is predicting that the 485s that they currently have are enough. The applications that are currently pending are enough for the next foreseeable future, according to their own notification.
Yes, and also how many number of visas will green cards be issued this year according to you, Mr. Parvathaneni?
So this year, so in general, every year, according to the law that the Congress has passed, we have 140,000 green cards under employment-based categories. And in employment-based categories, there are 5 main categories: EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5. And in general, most of the Indians use the first 3 categories. EB1 is basically they have extraordinary ability. So maybe they have a PhD and a lot of publications and so on. It's extraordinary ability. So that category has 40,000. And then there is an EB2 category. So EB2 category is for people with advanced degrees, somebody who has a master's degree. So that category has 40,000. And EB3 is more for professional and skilled workers. Professional means somebody has a bachelor's degree, a BTech, a BE, and so on. So these 3 categories are very famous amongst Indian nationals. Each of that category has 40,000 green cards. But the key thing to remember is the 40,000 is for the entire world per category. And Indian nationals can get only 7%. There is a countrywide limit. And what that means is, out of the 40,000 in each category, Indians can get only 7%. And that 7% is equal to 7% of 40,000 is 2,800. So we have 2,800 in EB1, 2,800 in EB2, and 2,800 in EB3. That's less than 10,000. So less than 10,000 green cards in a year for Indian nationals. Another thing to keep in mind is that includes the husband and wife. So if the husband, who's the primary employee, has a spouse, we count them as 2. So in general, less than 5,000 families get a green card based on the current existing numbers. And what that means is the numbers that are available are not enough to meet the demand. So theoretically, unless there is a spillover, the number available is very, very low. That being said, USCIS has already said that this year they expect about 25,000 spillover. So in terms of the spillover, even including the spillover, the number of green cards available this year are theoretically 165,000 for the entire world, and Indians can get only 7% of that. So what that means is about 10,000 odd people, Indian nationals, are eligible for employment-based green cards this year. And that unfortunately means the numbers available are very, very low, and that doesn't reflect the true demand that we are seeing. So that's another reason why the dates are expected to be slow and not really progressing further this year.
Yes. And also, Mr. Parvathaneni, can we talk about, how is a foreigner getting a green card now, and an H-1B visa, or how can they become a citizen? What is the process once they enter into the country?
So in general, for somebody to get a green card, there are two main options based on the current immigration law. The first option is through family based. So if somebody has a qualifying relationship, when I say qualifying relationship, somebody has a US citizenship and they are a relative of that person, and there are qualifying relationships. So that is one way to get a green card, through a qualifying family relationship. That is one way that a lot of people use. And then there is another way. The other way is through employment based. Employment based is a very, very a common and a very, very routinely used way of getting a green card in US for Indian nationals. And what that means is somebody has a job offer in US, and that company is sponsoring their green card, and they get a green card. So these are the two main options: one family based and one employment based. And family based, again, the most common way is either they're married to somebody who's a US citizen, or somebody is either a parent or a child of a US citizen. These two are most common ways. And there's another way, which is somebody is a sibling, somebody is a brother or a sister of a US citizen. That's also a way, but again, it is not very common, because when somebody is a sibling, they don't qualify under immediate relative category. So even though theoretically they can get a green card, it takes a very, very long time, 15, 20 years to get a green card if somebody is a brother or a sister of a US citizen. But if somebody marries a US citizen, or somebody is a parent or a child of a US citizen, the timelines are very quick in general, and they come under an immediate relative category, and they will be able to get a green card a lot more fast when somebody is a parent, child, a minor child, or somebody is marrying a US citizen. And the other way, through employment based. So as I just discussed earlier, there are 140,000 employment based green cards for the entire world, and Indians can get 7% of that number, and use those employment based categories to get a green card. So I mean, in reality, people use these two categories, either family based or employment based. And with Indians, most of the time, it is employment based, because Indians use most of the H-1B visas in US. Indians work in very, very highly specialized fields in US. So typically, it is this category that the employment-based categories are what people typically use to get a green card in US.
Yes. Mr. Parvathaneni, can we talk about, how someone, who holds a green card, or is, or under a US citizenship, they have a lot of benefits. So let's say somebody did not get their green card yet. Do they get to enjoy these kind of benefits, or do they have any pros or cons, or do they have any conditions to enjoy these kind of benefits?
Sure. So in general, most of the people come into the country on a non-immigrant visa, for example, a H-1B visa or a student visa. That is one part. And then typically people get green cards over time. As they're qualified, they apply, they get a green card down the line. And then the next subsequent step that normally people go through is citizenship. So down the line, they satisfy all the conditions, and they get US citizenship. And a lot of people always ask, what is the real advantage of getting a green card? Because I want to work in the country. I'm able to work on H-1B visa. What are the benefits? And then once people get a green card, again, a lot of times they have a question. We have a green card. We have all these benefits. What is the additional advantage of getting a citizenship? So to clarify, when somebody is working on a visa, a non-immigrant visa, the biggest drawback is the non-immigrant visa is a short-term visa. It is temporary. And what that means is every time they go out of the country, they re-enter the country, there's a challenge. You always have to make sure you have a valid visa. If not, you have to go for stamping again. You have to prove that you're qualified for the visa. And if the officer is not satisfied, they can stop the visa. So it's a pain. So every time that non-immigrant visa is a pain. So in general, what a lot of people do is, if their intention is just to work, they work. But again, if their intention is to stay in the country long term, they have to pursue the legal ways to get a green card. The reason is, once they get a green card, they don't have to worry about visas. That is the biggest advantage. And the next biggest advantage is, they can work anywhere they want in US, any company they want in US. Under H1B, there are so many limitations. There are limitations on what kind of occupation they can work in. There is also a limitation on what kind of jobs they can take. They can't take up jobs that don't pay the right wage. There is a requirement on how much wage has to be paid for a H1B employee. So there are so many conditions when somebody is on a non-immigrant visa. But when somebody is on a green card, they don't have to worry about visas. They don't have to worry about traveling out of the country and re-entering on a visa. They can work for any employer. They can change their employers at their will. And if they don't want to work for some time, they can take time off. They can just take some break from their work. And in general, they have a lot more flexibility. That is the biggest advantage of getting a green card. And people want that stability. They don't want that instability, because they don't want a situation where they go out to India for travel, and at the time of getting a visa, they're stuck with a 221G. So they don't want uncertainty. And the green card is what gives them that stability. That they know for a fact that they don't have any issues with travel, with work, with finding employment. So that is the biggest reason why people pursue the legal routes to get a green card through employment-based means or any other legal means, because of that stability. And the next part is the citizenship. You get green card. With the green card, you have all kinds of flexibility. What is the real advantage of getting citizenship? So, and I know a lot of people who want to stay on a green card. They stay on a green card for a lot of time, even though they're eligible for citizenship. They still stay with a green card for a long time, 10 years, 20 years, and so on. And they come to me and ask me, I want to stay with a green card. Is there really any reason why you should get citizenship? And the answer to that is, as an immigration lawyer, I always recommend that the minute they get their eligibility for becoming a citizen, they should apply for citizenship. The reason is, yes, with green card, they have all kinds of stability and everything. But when they get US citizenship, they have the right to vote. They have the right to participate in civic elections in US. And not only that, they don't have to worry about any surprises when they travel out of the country and they come back. If there is any issue, they don't have any surprises. And some of the issues are, unfortunately, if somebody gets involved in a DUI, a drunk driving has very, very strict rules in US, very strict rules. In spite of that, some people, unfortunately, still commit the crime of DUI, driving under influence. And if somebody is on a green card, if somebody commits even a crime for the first time, the very first time in their life, even that one single crime is enough to get them deported. When they are a citizen, nobody can deport them. They get their due process of going through the courts. They cannot get deported. So US citizenship has a lot more stability than a green card. And not only that, it's good to be a part of the society and participate in the elections and so on. So in general, my advice is, once you get the chance to become a US citizen, you should become a US citizen, because as a green card holder, there are limits on how many days you have to stay in the country. You have to maintain permanent residence in US and so on. As a US citizen, they can even stay in India or any other country for a long time, for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and there is nothing wrong. So they don't have any time limits on how long they can stay in the country, how long they can travel out, etc. That normally they would have if they have a green card. Because when they have a green card, there are strict rules. They have to maintain certain amount of time in US. They have to maintain permanent residence in US and so on. So that being said, I think most of the people, their goal is, when they're on non-immigrant visa, if their intention is to stay in US for a long time, pursue the green card route. And once they get a green card, I think they should pursue the citizenship route as soon as they get their eligibility.
Yes. And also, can we talk about how long can somebody on the H1B stay in the country? So let's say that, usually the H1Bs after you find a work, there would be probably for 3 years, if I'm not wrong. But let's say that the company is hiring more than that and they're able to work for more than 3 years. What is the whole process for that, Mr. Parvathaneni?
So the general rule is as per USCIS, a person can be on H1B only for a maximum of 6 years. That is the general rule. So if they need to cross 6 years, there are some guidelines, and they have to meet those guidelines if they have to cross the 6 years. And the first rule is, if they have to cross 6 years, their company should start their green card process, and they have to cross a certain step in the green card process. And that step is either their perm, which is their labor process. They should have at least crossed the 1 year period that their perm has been applied, or they are supposed to get their I-140 approved. I-140 is an immigrant petition that the company would file on their behalf. So the rule is, if their I-140 petition is approved, what that means is they are pursuing the green card. So if an employee is pursuing the green card, they get their I-140, which is the green card immigrant petition, that the company files. If that step is crossed, if the I-140 is approved, then they can extend their stay even after 6 years. But if the dates are not current, so if the dates are current, USCIS would expect them to apply for the green cards. But we all know that for Indian nationals, the green cards take a very, very long time. So even if their I-140 is approved, because the dates are not current, they have to go back to USCIS and show that I-140 approval and prove that because their dates are not current, they are applying for H1B. And by showing that approved I-140, they can extend their stay. And what that means to all Indian nationals who are working on H1B is, before their 6 years is up, they have to make sure that they work with their employer. Their employer sponsors their green card. If their employer does not sponsor their green card before their 6 years is up, they have to go back to India. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of Indians who have not worked with their employers. Their employers have not filed their green card, and their 6 years was up. And unfortunately, because their 6 years is up and their company has not started the green card process, they have to leave the country and go back to India. So it's very important that everybody that's on H1B, they make sure that at least the green card process starts, at least that one step that is required, that is completed before 6 years is up. If that step is completed, they can extend their H1 even after 6 years. If that step is not done, USCIS will require them to leave the country and wait until that particular step of green card is complete.
Yes. It was again lovely, Mr. Parvathaneni, for to have you on my show. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for the viewers for tuning in. You're watching Sakshi TV with me, Shivani Raj.